Hello, learners. Welcome to my channel Vaira Citadel. And today in this video, in continuation with our previous videos on the first chapter, namely the teaching aptitude for the general paper 1 of UGC NET. Today we are going to see the part 4 of the video, and it's going to contain topics on evaluation system. In this video, we are going to talk about the main characteristics of any evaluation system, especially the educational evaluation system, and what are the functions of the evaluation system or the main objectives of evaluation, and also about the elements that go to form any evaluation system. And we are going to discuss about the various types of evaluation, and this topic is very important from the examination point of view. Many questions are asked from the type of evaluation, and we are going to discuss about the innovations in evaluation system. Evaluation is defined as the systematic determination of merit or worth or significance of something or someone, because we can evaluate something or somebody. When we evaluate something, it means that we are evaluating some program, or we may be evaluating some object, or we may be evaluating some person. We may be evaluating their performance. So it is a very comprehensive term, and for convenience purpose, it is defined as the systematic determination of merit or worth or the significance of something or someone. And this term, evaluation, is not an exclusive term for education alone. It is used in all walks of life. For example, we use evaluation in arts. You are evaluating an art product. You can evaluate artistic work of a sculpture, or you can evaluate an artist's paintings. And it is also used in businesses. We are evaluating the profit, and we are evaluating the budget. And evaluation is done in education, which we will be discussing in detail, and other subjects like computer science, engineering, and in governmental organizations and non-governmental organizations and healthcare departments and any other human services for that matter. So evaluation is a very broad term and used in all the walks of life. And the characteristics of evaluation system. Any evaluation is a systematic process. Why? Because evaluation is not just a single step. It consists of many steps, and they should be planned meticulously and arranged properly and executed properly. So that is why we say it is a systematic process, because in the first place the objectives of evaluation should be determined, the method of evaluation is decided, and then the resources are identified, and the method of conduct of the evaluation method is discussed, and what are the types of evaluation we are going to use, that is to be decided, and how we are going to interpret or analyze the result, that is determined beforehand. So it involves so much planning and meticulous execution. That is why we say any evaluation is a systematic process. Any evaluation which is done haphazardly without any planning will result in failure. And it is a continuous process. So any program or any performance should be evaluated continuously in any institute. And it is comprehensive. It includes everything. When we say educational assessment or educational evaluation, We are not just going to evaluate the knowledge alone. We will evaluate the knowledge part of the learner, the skill part, his personality, his attitude, his behavior, his interest. So everything will be assessed and evaluated. That is why we say it is comprehensive. The program of learning teaching is assessed, the process of learning teaching is assessed, and the teaching method is assessed, the teaching resources are assessed, the curriculum is assessed, the learning outcomes are assessed. So that is why we say evaluation is a very comprehensive process and it includes everything. It evaluates the fulfillment of objectives, the first and the foremost being the objective of any learning teaching activity. So once the objectives are made clear, then we can choose the appropriate evaluation method to see whether these objectives are really fulfilled or to what extent. It involves the use of diverse procedures, tests, and techniques. There's not just one method or one test or one techniques. There are many types of evaluation, which we will be discussing in the following slides. Many methods of tests and techniques in evaluation, and each one will serve a different purpose. So once our objectives are clear, we can select the appropriate procedures or the techniques. It helps in identifying the strength and weakness of the students. It goes without to say that any evaluation should throw light on the strength and weakness of the students. The whole idea of conducting any assessment or evaluation is to find out the strength and the weakness of the learners so that we can modify our programs or the process accordingly. And it is pervasive and crucial feature of teaching. So evaluation occurs in all part of the teaching, and that is why we say it is pervasive. Anytime we do testing or we do assessment, any time of the year and during the course of the program or at the end of the program, and it is a very crucial feature of teaching. Without assessment, we will not be knowing where we are leading to. A well-planned and well-executed evaluation provides a reliable and valid measure of the student's learning potential. So whatever we interpret from the evaluation, that being any type of evaluation, whatever we interpret from the results we obtain from the test, it should be reliable and valid. It should actually reflect the student's learning potential. Then only the evaluation process becomes valid. And the prior knowledge of the students can also be evaluated before starting the program in order to assess what type of program, what type of teaching learning activity will befit this particular student. And there should be objectivity in any evaluation. What is objectivity? Objectivity, subjectivity. You should be knowing these two terms. They are just opposites, synonyms. Antonyms. Objectivity is where there is no bias. If any teacher evaluates a particular response sheet, they should arrive at the same result or the same grade. That is objectivity. When is it possible? When the questions are of objective type, like multiple choice or the true or false type, then objectivity is possible. But if it is of essay type or descriptive type, there are chances that the teacher's biases come into play. It will be subjective. So when there is a difference, it becomes subjective. And objective, when it points to the same correct answer. Well, here is the list of the functions of evaluation. The various functions of evaluation are listed out. The first and the foremost being, it is used to identify the abilities and potential of the students. So by means of this evaluation, we are able to identify to what level he is capable and what are his abilities. And also evaluation methods are used to diagnose the problems and weaknesses in students so that we can arrange for remedial measures. Suppose we find out by means of an evaluation that a student is poor in arithmetic, then the teacher can arrange for some extra training in basic arithmetics. Or we may find some of them are poor in drawing. So he may be given a training in drawing. So the objective, one of the functions of evaluation is to find out the problem and weakness of the students. And then to select a suitable course or job for the students. We know nowadays a lot of entrance examinations are conducted in order to select students for a particular course. For example, NET, National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test for medical courses, and CAT, Common Admission Test for management programs, and JEE, Joint Entrance Examination for all engineering courses. So these are some types of evaluation or techniques of evaluation by means of which a suitable course is selected for the students. And sometimes even before the job, the students are given a test or evaluation assessment technique. For example, many of the placement interviews are done with the purpose to select the students for a particular job. And also evaluations are conducted in order to award degrees, diplomas and certificates. We know that many of the degrees at the end of the semester they conduct exam based on the result. The students are awarded degrees or diplomas. And also to measure the level of fulfillment of educational objectives. So as I have told earlier, how far our objectives are met with are determined by means of these assessment methods. And also finally, not in the least, to provide feedback for the teachers. By means of this evaluation, the teacher who is involved in the teaching learning process of the student here comes to know of the strength and the weakness of the students. She is provided with the feedback so that she can modify the process or she can modify the product based upon the results of the evaluation. And talking about the elements of evaluation. What are the elements that go to form any evaluation system? So first and the foremost being the evaluators and participants. Who are the evaluators? The person who are doing the evaluation process, who are doing the assessment. Usually the teachers in the any educational settings. And the participants are usually the learners or the students who are taking the exam or who are taking the assessment. And they form the main elements of any evaluation. And the objectives of evaluation. As I have told you, we should be very clear about our objectives before we begin our evaluation process. What are our objectives? What is that we are going to measure? What is that we are going to assess? Is that his personality, or is that the student's skill, or is that the student's knowledge, or are we going to assess the change in his behavior, or are we going to assess the program, or are we going to assess the teaching learning method, or are we going to assess the overall personality of the learner? So we should be very clear about the objectives of evaluation. And then the resources. What are the resources? It includes all the infrastructural facilities like the examination hall or the interview hall, based on the type of evaluation we are going to have, and then the computers, if it is going to be computer assisted evaluation, the software and the hardware components, the OMR sheets, and the personnel for conducting the invigilation, and so on, so forth, the evaluators, and finally the interpreters or the evaluators who is finally going to evaluate the learners who are going to judge the result of the evaluation. And then the analysis, that is the main interpretation of the any assessment done. So this part, analysis or interpretation, is very important because all the examination, the method, objective, resources, everything will go futile if your interpretation of the result is not done accurately or properly without any bias. I am reminded of a joke where in your laboratory the zoology students are doing some dissection work on frog, and the demonstrator was doing the demonstration of the dissection of the frog. And what she did was, the first she nailed the first leg of the frog. She nailed it and told into the ears of the frog, jump. The frog did jump. Then she nailed the second leg and spoke into its ears, jump. The frog jumped. Then she nailed the third leg. And finally, she nailed the fourth leg of the frog and said, jump. The frog did not jump. She told the students to write this experiment in their observation notebook and make a note of the inference. She asked, what did you write? One of the students stood up proudly and said, the inference she wrote was, on nailing the fourth leg, the frog becomes deaf. So it could not hear the command and it could not jump. See, if this is going to be the inference or your analysis, then the whole experiment, the whole of your procedure is futile. Your analysis or interpretation should be very clear and accurate. You should know what is that you are going to interpret and how you are going to interpret, and what is the method of analysis you are going to employ. So that goes into a greater detail of the evaluation system. And then the decision makers, who are the evaluators here and who are going to make the final judgment in any evaluation. And here in this we are going to make a distinction between two important terms, namely assessment and evaluation. Sometimes people may use it interchangeably, both assessment and evaluation in the same sense. They are not same. Evaluation is a broader concept. It includes assessment. And assessment is a narrower concept when compared to evaluation. Evaluation includes assessment and judgment. Assessment is measuring something. It may include some measurement also. So evaluation is both assessment and judgment. Assessment involves just characterization, an objective description, or a measurement. It may just denote a score. That is assessment, that she got 8 out of 10. Or she has done all the sums correctly. This is assessment. But evaluation involves characterization and some appraisal. Characterization and some judgment. Suppose I say she got 8 rank or 8 score and she got selected in the interview. That is judgment. And she got 70% mark and he passed the examination. He is promoted to the next class. So here this is characterization, that is the 80 plus, that score is characterization, and judgment is promoted. A 30% mark is characterization, just assessment. And when I say she's failed, that is characterization plus judgment. That becomes evaluation. Just saying 30% mark is just assessment. When I say that she's failed in class 9 or whatever it is, That means I am evaluating. So remember that evaluation is a broader concept, it includes assessment also along with judgment. What is the judgment? It's going to be maybe it is the promotion, promoted or not, or it may be a selection for a career, for a job, selected or not selected, or a promotion in a job, promoted to the next cadre. So judgment could be anything based upon the situation. So this is the distinction between assessment and evaluation, which you should be uh, familiar with, because many times questions are asked. Types of evaluation. In any educational setting, there are many types of evaluation possible, and some of them are discussed here. Formative versus summative evaluation, objective versus subjective evaluation, criterion referenced versus norm referenced evaluation, formal versus informal evaluation. So we are going to discuss about 4 different set of classification or grouping. This grouping is done based on certain criteria which we will see, like how the assessment is done, or when is it done, or what are the objectives of evaluation. Based on many characteristics, these grouping or this classification of evaluation is done. So first we will see one by one. First we will see formative versus summative assessment. See, these two terms, formative assessment and summative assessment, are two important terms which you should be able to distinguish. Because very often questions are asked from this topic. What is formative assessment? What is summative assessment? Unless you clearly understand the concept, you will not be able to answer the MCQs. See, formative assessment is any type of assessment or any test that is done during the teaching. That is during the classroom teaching activities, the teacher asks so many questions and the student answer. So they all constitute what is known as formative assessment. Like any quizzes she gives in the classroom, or any debate, or any discussion, or any question answer, all these are done in order to verify whether the student has really understood the concept. She is asking a question and the student is giving the answer. So all these assessment which are done during the course of teaching is called formative assessment. And it is also called as assessment for learning because it helps in learning. You ask a question, the student don't answer. What do the teacher, what do? You again repeat the question or you explain the concept to her again. So it results in learning. It aids in learning. So this is called assessment for learning. On the other hand, the summative assessment or assessment which are done at the end of teaching. So any exam or any test or any activity given at the end of certain period, maybe a monthly test or maybe the term test or the semester examination or the annual examination. All these are done at the end of the term to assess whether the student, how far the student has understood, and also to judge, to grade them. At the end of the examination, they always carry grades or marks or ranks and also a judgment. He is promoted or he is failed. See, the judgment is there. So that is summative assessment, which is done at the end of the teaching. So this is called assessment of learning. Here we are assessing the learning. But here in formative assessment, they are assessed in order to make them learn. So it aids, it helps in learning, formative assessment. And summative assessment is assessment of learning. So you should be clear about this. Formative assessment is assessment for learning. It is also called AFL for short, assessment for learning. And summative assessment is called assessment of learning. And usually the formative assessments are rarely graded or measured. You know, every day in the classroom test, you give a slip test or you give a dictation or you give a, one sum to do it. You won't grade it or measure it. But usually the summative assessment, they are always graded and measured. And ranks are given. And in formative assessment, the focus is on finding the strength and weakness of the student. So then we can alter our methods. But in summative assessment, the focus is on the success or failure of the student. So we judge. And formative assessment is a very frequent process and it is continuous. We keep on doing it in everyday classroom. This questioning and answering quizzes and debate, everything is done on a frequent way. But summative assessment is usually done periodically at the end of a term or at the end of the course. And generally the formative assessment, they follow criteria reference test. And summative assessment are based on norm reference test, which we are going to discuss in the following slide. What is criteria reference test and what is norm reference test? We will discuss it in the next slide to follow. See, diagnostic assessment is a type of formative assessment. Usually it is done at the beginning of the program to identify the knowledge and skill level of the student so that a suitable program for that particular student can be selected. So that is called a test which is conducted at the beginning of the program to assess the student's ability and skill so that a particular suitable program can be given to him. It is like the doctor diagnoses the patient, the teacher is diagnosing the student with a test. That is called diagnostic assessment and it is a form of formative assessment because it is assessment for learning. It comes under formative assessment. The objective and subjective assessment. We discussed these two terms, objective and subjective. Objective is without any bias. So what is objective assessment and subjective assessment? Here in objective assessment, there can be only one solution which is correct. Usually in all the objective type of question. That is why they are called objective type of questions, true or false. MCQs, multiple choice question, where only one answer is correct and match the following. So these are objective type of assessment so that any teacher, anybody who corrects it will arrive at the same marks. On the other hand, subjective assessment, for each answer many solutions can be correct. So it depends on the evaluator. Whoever corrects it, the grades or the marks can vary because it will include extended response questions like essays. When two teachers are correcting the essays, the personal bias come into place. One teacher may like one example and another teacher may like another example. So she will reduce mark and while the other one grants with the fullest mark. So the total marks will vary in subjective assessment. And usually the objective assessment are suitable for computerization. It's easy to correct the multiple choice question with the computer. And in the case of subjective assessment, it's not very suitable for e-assessment, but nowadays software are available where the teachers can even read the essays and give her feedback on the marks. See, this is another type of classification of the assessment, criteria-referenced assessment and norm-referenced assessment. What are they? See, in criteria-referenced assessment, the candidates are measured against some preset criteria. So if I tell you an example, you will be in a better position to understand. For example, driving test. What do you do in a driving test? You take your vehicle to the test center and you are supposed to draw 8 in the field without any difficulty, without any trouble. Then you are given a license. You are declared pass and you will be given the driving license, whether it is a two-wheeler or four-wheeler. You are not compared with the other candidates who have come to the come to take the driving test. See, you are asked to draw 8. That's all. That is the criteria set for that driving test. So this is criteria referenced test or criteria reference assessment. Sometimes it is called CRT, criteria reference test. On the other hand, the norm referenced assessment criteria is preset criteria is not there, but all the candidates, all the students who are taking the test are compared among themselves in a group. Norms and standards are established. For example, you take all the entrance examinations, which are of high stake value, they have these norms or standards established. So all the scores are measured and they are tabulated and they are compared, and the norms are set like a percentile ranks and Z scores and T scores, and all these are done. So they are compared, and these are called norm referenced assessment. And here the standards may vary from year to year based upon the number of the students taking the test and their performance, and based on the highest mark obtained in each year. The norms may vary from year to year, but in the case of criteria referenced assessment, it usually does not vary from year to year unless the criteria itself change. For example, in the driving license, it is still for decades together, it is drawing 8 with the vehicle. That is the criteria set. It's not 9 or 10, drawing 9 or the number 10. So usually it does not vary from year to year. So now you know what is the criteria referenced assessment and what is norm referenced assessment. So criteria is some preset condition which the candidate is asked to meet. That's all. She or he is not compared among the other candidates. But in the case of norm reference assessment, there is no such criteria set, but the students are compared among themselves and the norms like percentile ranks are established. And next, text can be formal or very informal. In a formal assessment test, usually it is oral, in a formal assessment, it is usually a written document, and usually they are conducted very formally, they are structured, and always they are graded and numerical score is given to the candidates in formal assessment. And usually the summative assessment which are conducted at the end of the year are very formal. You all know that. And informal assessment are usually formative assessment which are done on day-to-day basis in the classroom during the teaching, and they are done very casually, and usually they are not graded or measured. The teacher asks question, the students answer. If he gives the wrong answer, the teacher corrects him. That's all. And it's usually informal and not structured. Now we are going to see what is choice-based credit system, CBCS, choice-based credit system. And this is followed in higher education nowadays, where the students are given a choice. A number of available subjects are given as a choice, and the students can opt any subjects according to his interest or motivation. See, art student can take a subject from science and vice versa. So this facility, this choice is available to the students. This facilitates interdisciplinary approach. So but the students have to complete the required number of credits in order to obtain the certificates for that particular course. He can combine in his course different subjects according to his choice. And credit points and grade points are awarded to the students in these subjects. And the semester grade point average is calculated, that is SGPA, and also the CGPA, the cumulative grade point average for all the subjects for all the semester is calculated. And based on this CGPA, the university gives him a pass or a fail. This is what is called as choice-based credit system. And this credits he can carry to any university. He has the option to in case of his quitting a university, leaving a college and going to another place and joining another university, this is possible because the credits so far he has earned can be accumulated and he can continue his studies later on in any other university based on the number of credits he had already earned. You can see here the performance index of these grade or grade points. The O means it is outstanding. The performance level is outstanding and the grade point pertaining to grade O is 10. That means he has obtained 10 grade points out of 10. And that is the maximum grade points. And A plus means the student has performed excellently, good, excellent, and the grade point awarded is 9. And for the grade A, it means very good performance and the grade point allotted is 8. And B plus means good and it is 7. And B means above average and the grade point awarded is 6. And the grade C means average performance with grade point of 5. And grade P means just pass with a grade point of 4. And F is fail. And anything below 4 is considered fail. See, the semester grade point average is calculated by adding all the grade points secured by a student in all the subjects he had opted in a particular semester, dividing it by the total grade points of all the subjects opted by him in that semester. See, semester grade point average is got by adding all the grade points secured by a students in all these subjects in one particular semester, dividing it by the total grade points of all the subjects opted by him in that semester. And the cumulative grade point average is got dividing the total grade points secured in all the subjects in all semesters by students by the total credits of all the semesters. The cumulative grade point average is got by adding all the grade points secured in all subjects in all semester by a student, dividing it by the total number of the credits allotted to all the subjects in all semesters. So you get the cumulative grade point average. The university decides the cumulative grade point average, the minimum CGPA, to award pass to each student. When we talk about innovations in evaluation, computer has come to play a very important role. And you should be able to distinguish what is computer-based evaluation from computer-assisted evaluation. Computer-based evaluation, and this, both the conduction of the examination and evaluation is done by the computer. So the conduction of examination is also done by the computer and the evaluation is also done by the computer in computer-based evaluation, CBE. And for example, the online quizzes tests are uploaded and online, and the students are given the link which they can use wherever they are to access the test and perform the test. And the results are also given in the computer. And this type of computer-based evaluation is given in many of the MOOCs. What are MOOCs? Massive online open courses like SWIAM, etc. They offer many courses online, and there the online tests are given. And many of the competitive exams are also done in a computer-based way. And it can include both objective and descriptive type of questions. On the other hand, in computer-assisted evaluation, the computer is used only in evaluating part of the test, not in conducting the test. The OMR sheets are given for marking the answer. The students are supposed to mark it manually. And the answer sheets are corrected using the computer software. And because it takes less time for the computer to correct the answer sheets, and so that the possibility of the speedy declaration of the result is there. And even graphs, charts, and the trend of the examination can also be calculated and performed using the computer. So this is the difference between computer-based evaluation, where both the conduction of exam and evaluation is done by the computer, while in computer-assisted evaluation, the computer assists only in the evaluation part of the assessment. See, in this, I had given an assignment for you. There are 2 questions given to you. You learners, you try to attempt these questions on your own. They are very easy. Whatever I had explained in this video is only asked here. So you try to do it. If it is not possible, you listen to my explanation. Don't just listen to the explanation first. Try to answer it, then listen to my explanation. Here this is matching assignment. The first point is UGC NET, and here 4 options are available. UGC NET formative exam criteria, the 4 different types of assessment are given: criteria referenced, summative assessment, and norm referenced test. Well, UGC NET is not formative, definitely, and because you're not given test every day, classroom test. And it is criterion, yes, it is criteria reference. The criteria for pass is fixed. See those candidates for each category, the pass mark is fixed. It may be 55% or 60%. So once you meet the criteria, the candidates are declared passed and they are given certificate. If you meet the criteria, you will receive the certificate. You are not compared with other students and no percentile ranks are involved. So it is an example for criteria reference. The criteria for pass is determined each year by the UGC. It varies. And the criteria is different for each category of students. Like MBC, BC and general category, the criteria is different. It is a criteria reference test. And NET is norm referenced because here the percentile ranks are calculated. Once you calculate the ranks, then the norms are set. Then it means it is a norm referenced test. And everyday dictation is a classroom assessment test which is formative in nature. Assessment for learning. And semester examination is the end term examination and it is summative. So you got it? The UGC NET is criteria reference test, NET is norm referenced, and everyday dictation is a formative assessment, and semester examination is summative assessment. The assignment 2, in this question you are asked to match the A with the B section and select the correct code. Here you have the additional task of selecting the correct code. You should be very careful in selecting the codes because sometimes you may get confused. So first match the set of statements. First A is formative evaluation. We know what is formative evaluation. It is done in everyday classroom and it's not usually graded. It's not evaluating cognitive aspects with regularity. It's not that for formative evaluation. What about this second statement test and their interpretation based on a group and certain yardsticks? No, this is not for formative evaluation. And the third statement is grading and the final. So in formative evaluation, the final word should not be there. So it is not the correct option. And I look at the fourth one, quizzes and discussion. Yes, it is for formative evaluation. What is formative evaluation? The everyday discussion and the quizzes. So the statement A will go with fourth statement. So A with fourth. Which one? Start A with 4. So this is A14. So you can just blindly select this, but I want you to go through all the other options also. See, the only one option, the A option is available with the A matching the fourth statement. So you can straight away, without looking into other three statements, select the first option A. But you have got the time. So if you don't have time, you can just finish up your selection and go ahead with the next question. But now that you have the time, you look for the other option, because this is assessment for learning. So I want you to learn. So the second B statement, summative evaluation. So we know that final, grading the final learning outcomes. The final word is there. So that is B is third. So correct. The B option goes with the third statement, right? And then the next C statement, continuous and comprehensive evaluation, CCE, continuous and comprehensive evaluation, which is followed in CBSE schooling. And it is the tests are conducted with regularity. This word suggests that continuous, evaluating the cognitive aspect and co-cognitive aspects with regularity. That describes the continuous and comprehensive evaluation. So C with the first statement. C with the first statement. And the last D, norm and criteria referenced. So here the second option, it talks about the criteria. So the yardstick is another name for criteria. What is the yardstick for measurement? What is the criteria for measurement? Putting 8 is the criteria for driving license. Putting 8 with a vehicle is the yardstick for getting the driving license. So yardstick is the other term for criteria. So this talks about the criteria reference test and the norm. Interpretation based on a group. You are comparing your members of your group. So that means it is norm reference test. So D goes with the second statement. So D with the second. So the option code A is the correct answer. A is the correct answer. So you select A. Hello learners, now we have come to the end of this video, namely part 4 of the first unit, namely teaching aptitude in the general paper 1 of UGC NET exam. I hope you enjoyed this video, you liked this. I hope you did the assignments given at the end of the video. And if you like the video, please subscribe to my channel Vaira Citadel and click the bell icon so that you will receive notification whenever I publish a new video on UGC NET. Thank you.